I couldn't be any more excited right now.
Those hands were filled with poop-stained underwear, which he allegedly smeared on the face of his victim.
Do you realize what percentage of your opening conversations are about bathrooms, Merrill?
Sometimes when you look through the little hole between the stalls, you can see another guy. You should just look him in the eyes the entire time.
I think you have the wrong expectations for what's going to go down here. We're going off the rails here. Maybe football instead.
It's always next year. Happy National Podcast Day, everybody. One of our favorite holidays. Yeah, it's one of the best.
How fitting.
Welcome back to the Sandlot Cast, the podcast about our uber competitive fantasy football league, so you don't have to. I am Rob Lowe. With me this week, I've got creepy Rob Lowe.
Absolutely not.
And not so good looking Rob Lowe. How are you gentlemen doing?
Pretty good.
Creepy Rob Lowe.
You were creepy Rob Lowe.
Oh, okay, good. Okay.
I was pointing it out there. So welcome back. We had a quick podcast last week. Hiller, it's good to have you back this week, buddy.
Yeah, I got over myself. I've emerged from the depths of despair, and I'm ready to just wait this one out. So.
Yeah, sometimes you just need to sit one out. I had that a couple years ago when.
Oh no, I meant the rest of the season.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Just wait it out.
So this is a Real Deal or No Schkapeel podcast, Anthony. I know you're excited. This is always one of your favorites. So
yeah, it is one of my favorites. I would also, by the way, like to sit this one out, and that. I'll just join Hiller's. I'm done this season. It's over.
You're 4-2. This is a ridiculous claim, and everybody that's not 4-2 is pissed at you for even suggesting that.
Yeah.
Is anybody enjoying fantasy football this year? Because if not, let's just take $150 and let's just have a mega party and then be like, we all win fantasy football. Can we just do that instead?
I'm enjoying it.
Maybe next year. That would be a better use of our cash.
We're not canceling this year. I'm actually a good start. We're not canceling this year.
This year's canceled.
No, we can't
cancel.
Shut
it down. Commission says season's over.
No.
Mulligan.
Champion to be decided by trivia contest.
There I was preparing my delicious dinner of grilled cheese, and a question came to me. And I realized I didn't know this about you guys, but what is your favorite kind of cookie?
Oh, oatmeal raisin.
Yeah, oatmeal raisin. Yep.
Really?
It's chewy and delicious. No, it's the texture. It's the.
I'm a peanut butter cookie guy.
Sugar cookies are good. You know, ginger snaps, they're not terrible, but oatmeal.
You ever have molasses? Molasses cookies, pretty money. Evan knows what I'm talking about.
I've had molasses.
What I'm talking about.
Yeah, they are good. They're delicious.
This is how we celebrate National Podcast Day.
And the Real Deal or No Schkapeel podcast.
Okay.
All right, let's do it. Let's get into that.
So let's get into it. Let's start off with our weekly factoids. Anthony, what's the minigame status?
All right, so minigame, week 4 winner was the person with the lowest scoring team, and it was Evan. He kills it when he needs to kill it, and loses when it gains him money. So Evan is the minigame winner with a measly 63.4 points, and somehow it still does not put him into the bottom of his division.
That's because his division is terrible.
Yeah.
So good for you, Evan. Also, there's been only one upheaval in the regular season minigame, and that is we have a new highest scoring single week running back, and that is Jamal Charles.
J. Charles.
Week 4, 28 by, one of the podcast brothers, Mike Merrill.
Yep.
So good luck on that.
What do they say about Jamal Charles? In like a lion.
Hurt like a lamb?
Yeah, something like that. Hurt Locker Lamb. What?
I will say that...
Hurt Locker Lamb. It's just a lamb in armor. Just
good band name.
Running around.
I just missed out on the Antonio Brown, his third touchdown, which went through his hands. Man, that would have been nice.
He's got such strong hands.
He does have strong hands.
Well, I've got a little factoid, Hillers. We're going to start tracking our Gronk versus Gates bet.
Oh, how am I doing?
Antonio Gates is at 39.5 points on the year, and Gronk is at 32.7. So
Sweet.
You're still up by about 7 points.
Good
so
stuff.
Way to go. Noted
The
that
way
since
Brady
he had
looked.
that big game, he hasn't really done anything. But
Well, he's done
I'm-
just
I'm-
still slightly more than Gronk. So
I'm making up ground on you. So,
okay.
are we good on the factoids, Anthony? We ready to move on here?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's get into our real deal or no Schkapeel oriented team overviews, and we're going to start with the Clubber Lang division. And we're going to start.
I got a question. I got a question about the ground rules.
Oh,
Is there only six real deals and 6 no Schkapeels?
No, there should be
no
5 real deals. That's
Is-
playoff
Okay,
teams.
Is it 5 and 7? 5. Okay, 5 and 7.
Here's the beauty of real deal or no Schkapeel.
Now, Merrill always tries to push on everybody and say, oh, they have a chance. Well, that's not analysis. That's not what people want to hear. They want to know if they're a playoff team or not. Not if they have a chance. Everybody has a chance. That's just silly.
Let me tell you
Well,
something.
I'm picking 5. And
Take your balls out of your
rest-
purse and then pick a real deal team, one of 5.
All right. Well, listen. Here's the beauty. A little behind the curtain here on the podcast, folks. A little behind the curtain. Okay.
Would you say it's open kimono?
Sure. Open kimono,
I would not say that.
lifting up
No?
the skirt, whatever you want to say. Nobody here knows what real deal or no Schkapeel means. We just kind of make
I
it up as we
do.
go.
You refuse
No,
to
I
accept
think you
the
do.
appropriate definition.
I made it up. You can't know what it means because I don't know what it means, and I made it up.
No, you don't want to know what it means.
Well, let's go into like a
You
fictitious.
can't handle the truth.
Let's
So
just start.
here's how we'll define each of how we think about it. Hillers, you define it as teams you think are going to make the playoffs, I guess.
Yeah.
I
You want
define
me on
it.
that dictionary. You
as-
need me on that dictionary.
I define it as a team I could see making the playoffs. Not that I think will make the playoffs, but that I think will be a contender for the playoffs.
So 9 teams.
Anthony,
I'm going to define it as teams that have both, not one, but both chutzpah and gusto.
okay. I mean, there you go. There you have your definition of real deal no Schkapeel. Like in the dictionary, when they have 1, 2, 3, like 3 different definitions, that's what you have next to real deal no Schkapeel.
I feel like gusto is at least 4 or 5 there. That's
Gusto can
Hillers,
never be overstated.
if it's one thing I learned in my my
What
ski
about
career-
Moxie? Are we forgetting about that? I mean, come on.
We've forgotten about it. If it's one thing I learned about from life, by virtue of skiing, it's go for the gusto, and that's something that I take with me every day of my life.
That's right. Moxie can't hold a candle to Gusto.
Where is that gusto exactly?
You know.
You know what it is.
You
Touchdown
better
Jesus
know if
will
you're
be our
going for
first
it.
team where we will go over whether they are the real deal or no Schkapeel. And Touchdown Jesus on the year is 3-3 and in first place in the Clubber Lang division by tiebreaker, tied for first with Evan and Brett somehow.
You sure it's not Miscarriage of Justice Day, Merrill?
He is,
Oh my god!
he is He is 7th in the breakdown, 7th in points for, yet first in his division. Gentlemen, we'll start with you, Hillers. Is this team a real deal or no Schkapeel? and
You know,
why?
it pisses me off, but yes. I mean,
Yes,
I
what?
really,
Yes,
yes,
it's
real
fine.
deal, real deal, real deal team. Let's just put aside the phenomenon that is Larry Donnell, you know, which
I believe I heard it said Donnell.
to now, fair enough.
Yeah. I'm not
Whatever.
sure. I'm
as,
serious on that.
as someone once pointed out, we pronounce things only the whitest way possible. So Donnell it is. Okay. And
Donnell, not the white way to say it.
I
no,
think it's
but Donnell
the
is
long
slightly
way to say
whiter.
it.
Oh,
Anyway, there's nothing wrong with this team. Why? I don't know why they haven't been putting up even more points than they have, and it's shameful to look at them down here. As bad as scores as Evan has been putting up, and that Brett has managed with his team of like just barely walking, shambling people. He should be further ahead than he is with guys like Forte and Calvin Johnson, and DeAndre Hopkins even is doing well this year. I mean, there's not really a substantive weakness on this team. You can say, you know, maybe Monty Ball isn't performing quite as well as you might have hoped, but he's not doing bad, except for, well, week 3, I guess. And then he had a bye week. I mean, I think the jury's still out, I guess is what I'm saying on that one. So, picking up strong, free agents, and it's just a really solid team. I think he'll probably win the division.
Anthony.
I think the only reason he's in first place in this division is because we're double counting points on doubleheader weeks. So he's had his 2 highest scoring weeks on doubleheader weeks thus far, and therefore he's in first place in the division. Otherwise, he would not be.
So what would you say would be a better tiebreaker then?
Breakdown.
Breakdown?
Yeah.
Maybe that's something we can bring up, because I'd be okay with that too. Maybe that's something we can bring up for next year. We can switch up breakdown.
I would be for it, but just to put it that way, I mean, if TDJ were in Brett's position now, where you're 3-3, but you're in third place in the division, we would not be saying real deal, or Hillers would not be saying real deal, because
I would. I like that. I like his players.
So that's a lie, and I'm going to say No Schkapeel. I do like his players. They're a little bit aging.
Aging.
Not
Who's
Larry
aging?
Donald.
I mean, Calvin Johnson, Phillip Rivers. Those guys are getting up there a little bit. So look, it's just one of those things where
Phillip
there's only
Rivers is kicking
there's only
ass.
Hey,
Calvin
there's only
Johnson's 29 years old. God's sakes.
guys.
Am I that old?
Look,
old do
there's
you think I am?
there's 5 real deal spots for me.
Right.
5, and he's a cusper. He's not getting one. No Schkapeel.
Cusper. That's the wild card there. Okay.
What do you think, Mike?
So the reason he hasn't performed really well so far is Cam Newton isn't really healthy yet. He hasn't been performing as Cam Newton typically does. Luckily, he's got Rivers to fall back on, and he started Rivers this past week, and I think he'll continue to until Cam turns it around, if he even ever does. I mean, as of since last year, Rivers has been the better quarterback, like you said many times, Hillers.
Many times.
Yeah. So so there's Cam. Monty Ball, like you said, hasn't been great. Calvin Johnson has also been a little dinged up this year, so he hasn't been performing as well. And this team is invested in a small number of stars on his team. We say stars and scrubs every year. Probably gets old. If this were a drinking game, you would have to drink every time we said stars and scrubs when we talked about Pritchard's team. But when you've got that core group of guys that you've got so much invested in, you need them to perform in order to win. And he's 3-3 right now. I'm going to say real deal because I do believe that these guys will turn it around. I do believe Calvin Johnson will get healthy. And if Phillip Rivers continues, great. If not, he's got Cam Newton to fall back on, or he can make a trade, and make himself a little deeper in other places. So I'll say real deal.
So just one last fact here is TDJ is seventh in points scored and 7th in the breakdown.
Yeah, I said that already.
Sorry about that.
So. But rule 1, Anthony. Rule 1.
Yeah.
The Sex Cannons are our next team. They are also tied for first in this division. They are 3-3. They are 6th in the breakdown and 7th in points for. So if the breakdown were a tiebreaker, they would be at the top right now. But it's not, so they're not. Anthony, real deal or no Schkapeel, and why?
Hold on, you said 6th in the breakdown.
Oh, I might have miscalculated that.
Yeah, he's actually the 5th best team in the breakdown.
5th, okay.
Yeah, so that's a little bit leads me to believe it's better. So Nick Foles stumbled a little bit this week, but the rest of his team is solid. And I mean, we're talking about a guy who is a perennial playoff contender. From an ownership standpoint, you look at his dudes, solid up and down the lineup. I mean, we say good things about Evan's team every week.
That's how Evan
There's no
likes
reason.
Dudes.
There's no reason for me to say not to say real deal. There's no reason.
Fair enough. Hillers.
No Schkapeel.
Boom.
Yeah, I mean, deepest team in the league for sure.
Really?
Other than tight end. I mean, because whatever he doesn't have, he could trade for very easily. And with Joik Bell, if Joik Bell isn't doing well, maybe Jerick McKinnon does, or even Lamar Miller put in for a couple touchdowns this last week. It's like, and the wide receiver situation extraordinarily deep, but I don't know. I'm just getting this sinking feeling because all his guys keep having mediocre weeks. Or his team as a collective comes up with something that's kind of. I mean, he was the lowest scoring team this week. He put up a 60, and it wasn't a one-off. I mean, his first week was something in the low 80s, I think. And Demaryius Thomas is maybe not going to be doing as well this season as he did last season. Julio Jones, I mean, these are guys I can't believe I'm questioning them, but I just don't know. Will they all perform at the same time in a given week like he needs them to? And so far the answer's been meh. So
no,
maybe he misses the play.
In week 2, he put 146 points up.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Well, yeah, so it's streaky.
And 103 in week 3.
Now, look, I'd much rather have this team than my team. Okay, let's I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying if it continues with this sort of streakiness and you don't know who to start kind of thing, with the competition this year, it's very feasible that he misses the wild card by some number of points.
Okay.
He's also got 2 games against the Wien coming up, so I mean,
that's the one thing he has going for him is his division. I mean, if there are 5 teams though, he's not right now my 5th best team. He's my 6th best team. So
you know what's such a dagger? In week 1, he beat Andy by less than 2 points.
Yeah, that's just brutal. I'm going to agree with Hillers and say no Schkapeel for the Sex Cannons. This team,
wow.
It's
even
similar.
By Merrill's generous standards.
Similar to the team last year, which we said was great because Peyton Manning was there, and this year Peyton Manning's not there, and I think that's a big hit. I'm not a big believer in Foles. I've been pretty straightforward with that. I just think, the receivers are great on this team, but Joique Bell's banged up. I'm not a big C.J. Spiller guy. He's been okay this year, I guess. He's been a pretty good running back, but I just think eventually Evans' luck or string of success is going to run out, and I think this team is significantly worse than this team last year. So I'm going to say no Schkapeel here. So you're wrong, Anthony, on that one.
Okay, sorry.
Yep, outvoted.
Sorry for all that, then.
Yeah. PBJ Time is our next team. Also, somehow tied for first place in this division with Pritchard and Evan. He is 11th in the breakdown, 11th in points for,
Ouch.
yet at 3-3, and tied for the division lead right now. This is the beauty of doubleheaders, I guess, Hillers, right? I mean,
yes.
How is it possible that this team is 3-3?
Well, I mean, he's been hanging in there. He hasn't given up. He's been able to rely on guys like Alshon Jeffrey, I guess, to carry him for him. But 116 points this week, built in the most solid possible way, with just everybody up and down the lineup. He clearly got the running back in Baltimore that you wanted to have, much to my chagrin. Doug Martin is back.
That backfired on you.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
And he even has some flex guys if he catches maybe even one more injury that he could rely on with guys like maybe Andre Williams, and Ben Tate won't be out forever. And so I like what he's been doing, and good job on that Alan Hearns pickup. He's probably the best player in Jacksonville. But this is obviously a team capable of putting up a solid game. And maybe Joe Flacco isn't quite as bad as we think. Carolina is a tough defense, and you kind of messed them up. So
Yeah.
I'm a little bit surprised.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
But wait for Brett to hang in there. Good for him.
Anthony,
However,
so-
no Schkapeel.
Yeah, all right. That's what we need to do. This is no Schkapeel. Brett's 2 victories this week were solely a function of Baltimore doing surprisingly well in a revenge game against Carolina. There is no chance Joe Flacco puts up 31.3 points ever again, maybe for the rest of his career.
Wow. Quite the pronouncement.
Okay.
Flacco, I'm not sure. I mean, if we went back several years, this has got to be his highest scoring week in probably in like 3 or 4 years.
Certainly one of them. Yeah.
I mean, go figure it's against, when he plays me. I think I probably should have seen that coming. But that aside, I mean, his wins were a function of Baltimore going nuts. That's it. He doesn't have a quarterback, and Joe Flacco's not going to perform like that. And Justin Forsett is not going to perform like that again either. Doug Martin and all the other players, I agree with you, Hillers, but you can't win in this league with a 15-point quarterback.
Okay. Well, he may have Carson Palmer coming back soon, so he's got him down there. RG3 may never come back. We're not sure about that. But so you say no Schkapeel, Anthony?
No Schkapeel.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to agree. I mean, we've been pretty hard on Brett's team here. I will say I think
fate has been hard on Brett's team.
Yeah, that's true. We have as well.
Not us. Knocking these guys
fate.
off willy-nilly.
We have joined fate. Not hard on Brett because a lot of this has been bad luck, but I will say I think he's stabilized. I mean, things were going down pretty fast for him, and I feel like he's kind of stabilized the ship. He's made a lot of moves, a lot of pickups, spent, I think, a lot of money on the free agent market, and he's been piecing together some weeks that are at least somewhat respectable, I guess. But yeah, he
No.
just had a really
They've been awful.
Have they?
58.5, 76.5, and 58.2.
Okay.
Terrible.
Well, how the heck did he get another win? Who did he beat?
Because he managed to win. He won. He beat the Wignier.
Oh,
He beat the Wignier with a 76.5 score to 63.6. Look, again, this is only because Baltimore went nuts.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, there you go. I mean, the Wignier, I mean, he gets to play him a bunch, right? So, well, I'm not gonna maybe my my argument of I feel like he's put up a lot of points or he's at least put up some good weeks is not correct. But I will say I feel like he's stabilized a little bit, and now he's got Doug Martin back. Alshon Jeffrey is healthy again and good to go, and he is going to get Carson Palmer back here pretty soon, which I feel like, and Ben Tate's coming back this week as well. So I think Ben Tate will be a nice addition to his running back core, so he doesn't have to start. Even though Forsett was okay this week. I don't know if that's a guy you want to rely on. I think Ben Tate. I don't know if Ben Tate's a guy you want to rely on either. I guess, but he does have Ben Tate, and that's kind of the deal. So,
props for resiliency is just not enough. I mean,
no Schkapeel for all three of us.
Yeah.
So, the Wignier, final team here. The Wignier are 0-6, last place in the division. They are 12th in the breakdown, 12th in points for.
Yikes.
12th in. Well, first in frustration, I think, and Andy is beside himself. I don't think he's real sure what to do. He's on that text chain that we always send out on Sunday.
I like his new logo. Have you seen this?
Uh-oh.
With a guy with four hands cupping his head in despair.
It is pretty good.
Yeah. It's a good logo. Well done.
Elegant choice, Andy.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll start, I guess, on this one, guys. I'll say No Schkapeel in the shocker of the year, but it's still a team I don't really hate. I mean, you look up and down it, but there are some issues. Sean McCoy has been okay some weeks and terrible in others. He's not been the guy that Andy's needed him to be for sure. Shane Vereen has not been good at all, and RB2 in general, I think, is a problem for his team. So
LeSean McCoy has, I think, just barely topped 4 points in his last 2 weeks combined. So 2.2 and 1.7. That's crazy. I mean, I don't know what to think. They say he's not hurt. I don't know what to think of that. Maybe the Eagles are just doing something totally different, than they used to. But
they're getting behind in games, and so they have to pass a lot.
Right. But, I mean, even so, you'd think they'd get him involved, sort of in some short routes and dump it off to him a little bit more. That's even if you were behind the entire game, which, they haven't necessarily been. I mean, 10 carries against San Francisco? I mean, there's maybe a reason you're behind. You still got to balance it out a little bit if you want to get the chains moving.
Yeah, but you look at this season and the top 3 picks in most snake drafts, the top 3 picks consensus were pretty much Adrian Peterson, Jamal Charles, LeSean McCoy.
Well, that's what makes it so shocking, is because those guys are to the top because they're viewed as so reliable. And Adrian Peterson might never be back on top of that list.
That's right.
So it's been a crazy year that way, and this isn't really a team that could afford to have his main stud drop off the face of the earth here. And with 6 losses, 1 more, and you're kind of out of the playoffs.
That's right. Anthony?
You said it all perfectly. I don't know what's wrong with this team either.
Yeah.
I mean, he's made so many good moves. You call this a solid rebuilding year for Andy, and I don't know that it is a rebuilding year anymore because you wanted to be able to build on guys like McCoy, Vereen, and Gronk questionably, and and maybe even Welker. I mean, like these are all guys that you can at least be comfortable with if they had a good keeper value going into next season, and now you don't even know that that's the case.
So what do you do?
I don't know. I actually have no idea. Because these are guys that you don't even know he's going to. There's not much trade value in any of these guys, with exceptions to maybe Gronk and McCoy. But those are the staples of his team,
right?
Bernard Pierce is available, Andy.
I'm sure he is. Gronk he could maybe trade. Like Gronk's, I don't know that he's necessarily a keeper at that price, depending on how he performs this year. So maybe Gronk is a traded piece. But I will say maybe the thing to do is start looking at, something I did in my many years of futile fantasy fun. Love that alliteration. Was you start looking at the waiver wire and you start saying, all right, well, which starters our contracts are going to be up this year, which situation at running back is going to change next year, which situation, what team, what team is probably going to have different personnel next year, and which rookies can I go get, or which players can I go get that are probably going to be the guy next year, and maybe that's what you do at this point. I'm not really
Well,
sure.
and not that anyone would have any interest in taking my trade advice, but trade on names now.
Mhm.
If you don't think that they're going to have a good team. I mean, if Gronkowski is not the tight end that he was, and now more of a regular tight end option, he's still got a name you can trade on. Wes Welker presumably still has maybe a little bit of name you can trade on, and just a small sample size. Someone might still be thinking, hey, that guy's a star. Even Marquez Colston, who's not getting targets as much as he used to. In last game he got 11, but I mean prior to that, not as much as he typically did with guys like mostly Jimmy Breeze, but
Yeah, so
Cook's in there and Stills. There might not be enough space for him anymore, but maybe you can trade on those guys because they've done so well in the past and it's still so early in the season. You might be able to get more than they're actually worth today.
yeah, the problem is he'd be selling. We don't need to spend much more time on this. I will say the problem. I mean, yeah, Hiller's. You got it. All he has is name value right now. But the other issue with that is he'd be selling low on all these guys because none of them are performing to expectation. So that's
He
the
might
issue
be
with
selling
him.
low all season though. If you're selling,
Yeah,
you
that's
can't sell low at the trade deadline. So pick one that you think is going to be bad and see what you can get, even if it's like a Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah.
This is.
All right.
It's time to panic.
Next division is the Ivan Drago division. And at the top of this division, the Black Widows, surprisingly, at 5-1, first place right now. And actually, since I started 1-7 last year, I've gone 13-1, which I'm pretty happy with, honestly. So, but third in the breakdown, fourth in points for. Anthony, real deal or no Schkapeel?
Yeah, real deal. I think you got past the toughest part in your schedule, one with Charles hurt, and then two with Peyton Manning on a bye during a doubleheader week. You got past that more or less unscathed. From
Okay.
now to, it's probably, I'm gonna say smooth sailing. I mean, you got Dave nipping at your heels there, and JD.
Okay.
I think you'll be all right though. Real deal.
Hillers?
Yeah, real deal. I mean, this we've said since the draft that this was your year, that you were coming in with the keepers that you needed to try to make something out of your team here, and it haven't disappointed. I mean, you have enough depth to get past what's going to inevitably happen, where it's a bit of a problems with injury and things like that. I don't think week 9 is a doubleheader week, is it?
No, thank God.
No.
Okay, so that might be a bit of a problem that week, but I mean, other than that, I think you've done the right things to have a decent squad. Your division, I don't think, can keep up with the points that your team is at least capable of putting up from week to week. And over the course of the season, I think you'll just slowly pull away. So, real deal.
Okay, in week 9, I play the Dad Dicks, unfortunately.
Oh, that's going to be a bad one.
That could be a brutal
Okay,
loss.
yeah, there's one extra loss for you then.
Yeah.
So,
But why does the Dad Dicks have the best matchups? Like he plays Hillers when Hillers has no running backs. He plays you when you're on. I mean, it's like just freaking Christ, man!
Yeah.
All the breaks.
You're a vulture.
Yeah.
If you're watching, Grimes, you're a vulture.
Yeah. I'll say real deal as well. Again, like you said, I'm kind of with you, Anthony. I feel like I got through first few weeks. I had some bad scores, but luckily my opponents had worse scores for once. So I feel like if you're gonna make any hay in this league, that's kind of, you're gonna need those kind of breaks if you're gonna make the playoffs. So hopefully that was the stretch for me where I got those breaks, and now I can start putting up some points. So we will see for sure. The next team, second place, the Duplex of Mediocrity, is the next team. They are 4-2, only back one game in the division. They are second in the league in breakdown and second in the league in points for. Andrew Luck is the number 1 QB in the league right now by 29 points.
Damn.
Hillers, here's his point total: 28, 23, 40, and 36. Not slowing down at all.
Damn.
Had a pretty good schedule so far, but Hillers.
Jacksonville for the 40.
Right.
Little asterisk on that one.
When Dave made this trade, I think Nick was a little critical in it, and we said, well, he's got Andy Dalton, who is just as good. I'm guessing this is probably what Dave was thinking, right, when he made the trade?
Has to be. And with guys that have so much hype like that, the only time you're reasonably going to be able to get them, if they ever actually end up realizing that hype, is early on, and he was kind of got him almost in between there. I don't think there'll be too much complaints about Andrew Luck as a franchise keepable quarterback at $21 with the kind of games he's been putting up, albeit against mediocre opponents. But he acted, he made a decision, and he turned out to be right. Now, if he'd have turned out to be wrong, I'm sure the league would have heaped all the scorn in the world on him. But he's been right about that, and he's been doing just enough to kind of keep his team up and running and actually making some decent pickups. We got Matt Asiata there, and he's been, he's a starting running back in the Vikings.
Matt Asiata, who missed the mini game for running back by 0.8 points.
By a point,
Not even.
And against Atlanta,
Yeah.
and this team just seems
All right.
maybe as deep, but really good team, and who knows?
Real deal or no Schkapeel?
If it wasn't for that top division, I'd say, you know what? Screw it, real deal. Yeah.
Okay. Anthony.
I'm going to go with the real deal as long as he has a quarterback that's putting up between 30 and 40 points in this league.
Right.
Our quarterbacks, I think are so overpowered, have too much power in this league that they could make up scores for 3 bad players. And it's just, when you have a single player that can do that much damage, you always got the leg up on the competition.
Yeah.
And it's a single player that can outscore 3 to 4 other players on the other players, maybe average weeks.
Quarterback's most important position on the team, man. Everybody knows. That's why you get all the credit when you win the Super Bowl, even if you're, not that elite.
But I guess what I'm saying is it's tough that there's no other single player in our fantasy league that can put up 40 points. So when you have a 40-point game out of Andrew Luck, which is really, it's good, but it's not
again against the Jaguars.
Earth-shattering. It's good, but it's not earth-shattering. But you can't make it up. It's irrecoverable for another team to make up that kind of point differential from one player.
It is.
Can't do
Well,
it.
that's the argument I've been making for years on quarterback points. But finally, I just said, screw it. I'll just get Peyton Manning, and I'll just join the club. So I'm with you, though, Anthony. It's something I think needs to be. The one thing we do have that a lot of other leagues don't is we take away 3 points for interceptions, which, again, doesn't really balance it at all, but it is something, at least, that brings them back a little bit. But, yeah, I agree. Quarterbacks are a little too overpowered, and
but you've been saying take the touchdowns down 1 point. If you take the touchdowns down one point and it's 37,
take them down 2 points is what I would like to do.
4-point touchdowns?
Yeah, that's what most standard leagues are on ESPN, CBS, sites like that.
Ugh,
That's what most standard leagues are.
I find that loathsome.
Well, that's because your team is based around your quarterback. But
It's not based around much of anything these days.
It requires you to build a more well-balanced team when that's the case, and quarterbacks don't put up 30, 40 points a week. It just doesn't happen. So, yeah, I'm with you, Anthony. But I think maybe one thing we do down the road is we say, okay, well, quarterbacks don't score as much, so one thing you can do is say quarterback prices for keepers, are going to be reduced by 20% or whatever because we're taking away this percentage of points for quarterbacks typically. So
Yeah,
maybe that's the way you do it. I'm not sure, but just something we can think about. So, so you say real deal, Dave? You said on
Yep,
that?
I said that real deal.
I'll say real deal as well. I think as long as, like you said, as long as Andrew Luck keeps crushing it like this, and I will say Jeremy Maclin has quietly been a number 1 receiver for any team. He has been a receiver that you can plug in and rely on. It's been really good this year. So, Los Chupanibres, our next team here, they are 3-3. They're in 3rd place by 2 games in this division. They are 5th in the breakdown and 3rd in points for. Unfortunately, this week they got a little unlucky. They put up 99 points and went 0-2.
Ouch.
It's pretty frustrating because you put up a good week and all of a sudden they were in 1st place. Now they're in 3rd place. So tricky week here. But Anthony, what do you think of this team? Real deal or no Schkapeel?
This is a real one for me because this is either my number 5 or my number 6 team.
Ooh, could be a cusper.
It's definitely a cusper. I'm going to say real deal.
Wow.
He's going real.
You think both wildcard teams are coming out of this division?
Yeah, I do. Because of Matt Ryan's strong year, and the trade for Rashad Jennings, which I appeared to have been very wrong about when it occurred. So I know he didn't have a great week last week, but he's getting his touches, and he's getting quite a bit of goal line touches as well. I mean, not a
He's
ton,
getting
but
all the touches. He's
Well,
the guy.
and they're playing Atlanta next week, which is
Yeah.
32nd against the run, so that should be a nice opportunity for him.
So I think if Cruz continues to improve, which he will, and I think if Bishop Sankey continues to get more touches, now he's got the depth that he was missing previously.
Yep.
And he's still got Stephen Ridley sitting down there. Yeah, he's got the depth and he's got the quarterback power. Real deal.
Hillers?
I'd like to agree. I think he's done a good job putting together a respectable team from what last year was disgusting waste. But it's good, but just not good enough. I mean, it's one of those things where maybe if it was just a little bit different in terms of you not being at the top of division and Dave being up there, if he was in Evan's division, maybe I'd give him a wild card chance. But I think competition is just going to get the best of him here. All these guys are guys that you would like to have, but none of them are really blowing me away either. And I think the chances that they underperform on the same week exceed the chances that they will overperform on the same week, which will lead you to some not great weeks. I mean, I have no doubt he can put up around 100 most of the time. I just don't think that's going to be sufficient to get him into wild card with the type of competition he's looking at, and his out-of-division schedule isn't all that great either.
Yeah, he scored 180. 100 week 1, 80 week 2, 118 week 3, and 99 week 4. He's been putting up points. I will say I was dead wrong on Matt Ryan. I kind of poo-pooed him before the season.
You did.
I'll say I was wrong on him. He was totally worth keeping at that price so far. He's had one bad game, but overall he's been good. Now again, he started this good last year, so we'll see if he can continue it. But he's been good. I'm gonna say real deal as well on this team. This is a team that can definitely make a run here. Bishop, like you said, Bishop Sankey for the first time got more carries than Sean Green this past week, so he's looking like he's getting a hold of that job. And his value is tied to the Giants, and the Giants look to be getting better offensively every week. I mean, with Victor Cruz and Rashad Jennings there, as the Giants go, I feel like so goes this team because those are pretty key guys that he needs to perform if he's going to do well. So I'll say real deal here. The Assassins, the final team in this division, they are 1-5, fourth in the division, down by 4 games. They are ninth in the breakdown and ninth in points for. And this week they actually put up 110 points, even though they basically had every player in their starting lineup on bye. He pieced together a 110-point week. But Hillers, what do you? I think we're all probably leaning No Schkapeel here, but
yeah, there's no space. There's no space for Schkapeel here. I mean, for you guys, you already have both the wild card teams, I think, coming out of this division. So by that alone, there's no chance. But
we've had teams come back from 1-4 or 1-5
yeah, but I mean,
in the past.
He's down to $23 in free agent money.
Right.
So these big acquisitions have been spent on things like $25 for Alfred Blue, and I don't think that this team, I like a couple of their players, but again, who am I supposed to be also excited about here? There's not even anyone I would classify as like a number one team on what I would expect to be, or number one player on what I would expect to be a championship team.
Okay, so no Schkapeel?
None.
All right, Anthony.
This is what makes me, this is the kind of week that makes me sick about fantasy in general, is that when he puts up 110 points on starting like Garrett Blunt and Greg Jennings and guys like that. I mean, I think he put up that amount of points solely because of Baltimore's, they blew up.
Well, Pittsburgh was playing Jacksonville.
It's not and that helps a little bit. It's just not.
Oh, Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay. It's just not going to happen again in that sense. I think he was lucky to come. No, Assassin's got a win last week, but again, he was playing the Winier. But I mean, 110 points, and then other teams, had a perfectly good starting lineup and scored under 100. I just don't get it. I will applaud Brad for a savvy pickup on Roethlisberger, dropping Tannehill. I thought Tannehill was a perfectly good starter, especially especially against Oakland this week. So I thought that was a pretty savvy swap out. So good on you on that one.
Yeah,
But
I was
no
thinking
Schkapeel.
about Block in there too. Again, you know, this it's a team you look at, and I think this team's going to play some spoiler coming down the road here. I feel like it's a team that with Steve Smith and Vincent Jackson's been getting better every week. I think Mike Glennon at quarterback is going to be a benefit to him over Josh McCown. I think Vincent Jackson's going to be most of his buys. So this is a team that's going to, I feel like, ruin somebody's season down the road, maybe week 10 or 11 or something. They're going to give some team a
they'll
loss.
piss somebody off for sure.
That they just can't handle because it
I
is
will
a
give
solid
you
team.
one guess about which team he's going to piss off.
Yeah. But I think at this
Because
point,
I play in week 9.
yeah, I mean at this point, you know, it's a team I think we all can say it doesn't look terrible, but at 1-5, it's a no Schkapeel at this point. They're just not gonna can't make up enough ground at this point. It seems like so. Into our last division, the Apollo Creed division. We will start at the top with the Dad Dicks, who are 5-1. They are at the top of everything. They are first in the breakdown, first in points for, first in the division, and first in the league right now and everything. So they have had 100-plus points every week. That said, Hillers, real deal, or Anthony, I'm sorry, we start with you this time. Real deal or no Schkapeel?
Real deal. I'm just going to leave it at that. Come on. You said everything I needed to say.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I'll just
Phyllis?
add to that then and say it's, you know, I absolutely respect everything you said. It's just a little bit baffling to me because I look at his team and I say Drew Brees, Jimmy Graham, great. Le'Veon Bell, great. Everything else, I'm like, eh. You know, I mean, Sammy Watkins has sort of been coming into his own a little bit, but nothing to like really blow the roof off quite yet. And I'm sure he will end up being a great receiver. But with them benching E.J. Manuel in Buffalo and hoping Kyle Orton can get the job done, that makes you kind of go, "Urgh." You know. And Terrence Williams, I feel like he could have good games, but he doesn't necessarily. Everybody else, they're just sort of eh. And so I'm wondering, how has he managed to do that? And a lot of it is Drew Brees and Jimmy Graham and their vaunted partnership here. But
The Bengals defense, too.
Maybe that's enough. Yeah, and you know, a defense, but maybe that's enough.
There's also a good amount of good luck that Danny's had. I mean, Chris Johnson had a terrible week. He had 6 carries, but one of them just happened to be a 30-something yard touchdown.
Yeah.
Same thing with wasn't it Sammy Watkins had a touchdown this week? Yeah, Sammy Watkins, he had 30 yards total. I mean, yeah, targets is great, but 30 yards total, but one of them was a touchdown. Same with Terrence Williams. No, actually, Terrence Williams had 2 touchdowns. He's been getting a lot of the scoring plays despite having low yardage production, and it's, you know, I mean, what can you say?
So
it's a little crazy, but you know, fantasy luck is something you can't really mess with either. I mean, it's not luck to be the highest scoring team. I don't want to suggest that, you know, that this team is just entirely lucky, but he's also been catching breaks when he needs them, and there's no reason that even in a tough division that he can't at least scrape by with 7. Real Deal is my 4th Real Deal team, although I would say the one maybe at the most risk of having a late season slide.
That's what I'm going to say. No Schkapeel on this team. I know it's crazy, but like you said, as I look at it, I see a late season. I'm predicting a late season collapse for this team. I don't know who his RB2 is. I guess it's Chris Johnson right now because Niall Davis is going to start losing more and more carries as Jamal Charles gets healthier. Terrence West, now that Ben Tate is back, for now at least, isn't a guy that you can plug in. So I'm not sure who his RB2 really is. I guess he's got to rely on Chris Johnson. This is a team that they've been, like you said, Anthony. They've gotten lucky, but I don't see this team. I see a late season slide coming. I think if an injury or two hits this team, they're in big trouble. They've been pretty lucky with health. Also, there's not one single Red Cross on this team's lineup, which is not many other teams can say, if any. So I see something happening to this team. I just don't see them sustaining the level of. And it's nothing against Danny Grimes because I think he's a good owner. He's proven that he's a good owner in this league, but. This team, I just don't see. I don't see hanging on. I think it's going to get passed by 1, maybe 2 teams in this division and not even make the playoffs. So you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. End Zone Bombardment Squad is our next team. They are 4-2, and in second place took a 0-2 week this week. They were 4-0 at the top of everything, but they are 7th in the breakdown and 6th in points for, I believe, Anthony. And yeah, so let's start with Hillers on this one, I guess. What do you think here, Hillers? Real deal or No Schkapeel?
Yeah, real deal team. Just because it's a still a fairly solid, starting, a team that you can put starters in even if bad things happen. He's made good moves. I mean, he's exploited my mental illness to pick up another wide receiver that he may or may not even need with guys like Keenan Allen, and
He had a bounce back week this week, Keenan Allen.
and Roddy White and Antonio Brown in there. You might not even need a guy like that, especially if he gets hurt. But other than Jace Amaro, who I don't really care for, he's done very well to pick up a solid lineup here. Even guys like Chris Ivory, who he picked up for $1, is probably the best running back at $1 available in the league right now, or among the best. And who knows with what happens in Cleveland. Isaiah Crowell could definitely be the guy coming out of there.
He could.
And other than that, I mean, you got no complaints with guys like Stafford or Lynch or Antonio Brown. So it's I think he comes out probably with a division win.
I'll go ahead, Anthony.
Despite the incessant bitching.
Since this is your team here, I'll say real deal as well. I think you built a pretty strong team here. I think if there's one weakness, but we can pretty much say this about every team, it's RB2. I don't think you feel too confident starting Chris Ivory every week, but your team's so strong. Otherwise, that's almost like your flex spot because you've got 3 really good wide receivers you can put in there to start. So RB2, it's if we're picking nits here is what we're doing. But I'll say real deal as well. Marshawn Lynch is on a bye this week, which hurts you for sure. And you took my advice on starting Mike Wallace over Keenan Allen, which you shouldn't have done because I'm an idiot. So. But anyway, I'll say real deal because I think you got great wide receivers and you've proven that time and time again you just know how to kind of come through and make the playoffs. So
playing me this week, so that's another nice W for your category there.
Yep. What do you think?
So this is the team that Chubes beat out for the last real deal spot. So I'm going No Schkapeel. And the reason I feel like that is that no matter how many moves I make. The fate of fantasy keeps one step ahead of me. Like I spent nearly 40% of my draft money on Adrian Peterson. He won't play another snap this year. Period. My original tight end, who was Dennis Pitta, not on my team anymore. Niles Paul, gone. So yeah, sorry that I'm starting my third string tight end and Jason Moore this year, Hillers. I'm sorry you don't like
one weakness.
Don't play this week, Jason Morrow. Don't do it. You're gonna get hurt.
You pick a third tight end and then I'll tell you how much I like it.
Yeah, the waivers of tight ends right now, it's dragged.
And what are you yelling at me for? I said you were a real deal. You whiny sack. You're sitting at 4-2.
And here's the other thing. Dad Dix is getting a lot of breaks this season with schedule lineups. And not in the breakdown. He's doing great in the breakdown, but he's going to be playing. What did we just identify? He's going to be playing in Week 9. He's going to be playing.
Me.
He's playing Merrill, who has all the buys.
He seems to be lining up with players that are on their buys every time. So he's playing Merrill in Week 9. He's playing, I believe, Hillers in Week 11. And Hillers, I don't even think you have a running back in Week 11.
No, I don't. No.
Yeah.
He's like a dingo.
Who needs running backs?
He's just feasting on the carrion. As soon as he senses weakness, he just hops right in there, much as a dingo would do.
So
and he also doesn't have any major bye weeks during doubleheader weeks either. And you know that other people are going to. So I think that I'm going to be, no matter how many moves I make, struggling to keep up with Dad Dix. That means I'm in it for a wild card spot, and there's other good teams out there. I just don't think it's going to happen for me, despite everything.
How did I manage to have every single running back on my team with a bye week in Week 11?
I'll tell you why, because you knew you were playing Dad Dix. I mean, if you had been playing, anybody else, it wouldn't have worked out that way.
I can't even start Toby Gerhardt, who's only a running back in name only.
Anthony, you mentioned how the wing of fate and fantasy keeps getting in your way again and again. I will mention that you're probably the most, if not one of the most, if not the most successful owners in the history of this fantasy league. So I'll just point that out.
Not the most.
You haven't been all that unlucky. Next team here is Iron Pirate Redux. They are 3-3 in third place in the division at 500, but they are 9th in the breakdown and 9th in points for. So they've been a little fortunate schedule-wise. Anthony, we'll start with you here. What do you think of Nick's team, real deal or no Schkapeel?
If there were sirens and flashlight could start right now, that would be the Tom Brady panic time. I am.
Yeah.
What's going on with Tom Brady, but he is not your quarterback in fantasy. And looking on Nick's bench, he doesn't have another one. So I guess, I don't know, maybe he's going to be, who really knows? Because of that only, it puts him out of the real deal competition.
Maybe Kendall
be a
Tompkins
Cusper
can play
otherwise.
quarterback for him.
I got a sound for Tom Brady
I
panic
don't
time. It's about time. I'm so tired of hearing about it. Oh, he's so great. He's the best quarterback ever. Ever since he won his multiple Super Bowls or whatever, he's been on a slow slide, and I think maybe the end is finally dropping off there. And it's nice to see. You know, it's like I do think that he has benefited from the fanfare that his team has generated. And you know, when Belichick is benching you, you know, that's bad.
He didn't bench him. They were down by 40 points in the fourth quarter. He just took him out. The game was over. He didn't bench him.
He benched. That's what happens.
When
they take you out, you then go sit on the bench. That's what that's called. Benching.
Didn't Aaron Rodgers get benched this week too? When they were up by like 30?
No, that's just
EJ Manuel is getting benched next week.
Yeah, now that's a benching. That's a benching. So, all right.
I mean, you know, maybe if this team was in another division or something, they could sneak into a real deal. But there's just not enough real deal left to go. He's got too much left to overcome, and some guys that have shown that maybe they will drop out on him when he needs them the most. You know,
Anthony, did we ever get an answer from you? I think Hillers might have jumped in there.
I said no Schkapeel.
Okay.
Yeah, he's done with his real deals.
Okay.
Because he's sticking to the real definition.
The real made-up definition.
Well, I think Nick's got a lot of chutzpah, but not as much gusto to get it going.
And just lacking in moxie altogether. So I mean, there's not enough.
Not that it would matter.
There.
Yeah.
You know, and guys that I think he needs to count on. He can count on him. He just doesn't know when. You know, it's like Randall Cobb, for instance, is a great example. Last week, 2.9 points. This week, 23.3 points. And I'm not going to say he's bad. I'm just saying it could be either one. The way the Packers are playing this season and the types of defense they managed to collapse somehow against. So
I think you can count on Randall Cobb. I don't think Randall Cobb's someone you need to worry about. But I will say I think real deal on this team. I talked about it last week how I like this team. I think it's good. This week, unfortunately, he had his Bengals on a bye, which, you know, AJ Green and Gio Bernard were on a bye for him, so he had to start Donald Brown and God knows who else. He's had Pierre Thomas in his starting lineup. I mean, it wasn't great. So that was kind of tough. So far, he's put up 103, 57 in week 2. Not sure what happened there. 92 and then 87 when his Bengals were on bye. So I think this is still a team that's going to put up points, and I think
it's fine. It's just that's the kind of scores that sort of keep you just out of the playoffs if you're not putting up like 120s every once in a while.
Well, I think this is a real deal team. I think he's got to make a trade for a QB though. That's with the asterisk of he has to make a trade for a QB. If he can do that, like if he can snag like Jay Cutler from Andy or something like that, maybe trade Travis Kelce to Andy for Jay Cutler or something like that. You know, Kelsey's a good keeper. Maybe that's what Andy's looking for. Maybe he can do that, and then he can start Cutler. You know, because at least Cutler puts up points, and Brady's just been bad. But there are quarterbacks out there. If Nick doesn't make a trade for a quarterback, then no, he's not a real deal. But I'm guessing that he will. But that's
trading is not his strong suit.
It's not. He's not one that likes to commit to trade. So let's get to the last team here. Hiller's Upside. It might be time for a name change on this team, but the Hiller's Upside is at 2-4. They are 2-4, but they are 4th in the breakdown and 7th in points for. That's the biggest disparity on breakdown on points for, which is weird. But the Bernard Pierce trade turns out it might have been even worse than we thought.
Worse somehow. Yeah.
But Anthony, we'll start with you here. What do you think of Hiller's team now that he's back on the podcast?
Can we call it Hiller's Upside Down?
Yeah, maybe that's the way to go.
Yeah, I don't know.
For Hiller's
No.
upside? With a question mark?
Put a question mark after.
No way.
How do you do that? That's a good
That's really,
suggestion.
that's really funny. God, I mean,
Maybe it has upside?
it's bad news. I mean, it's just bad. He's got some good players on there. I mean, but it's just not a complete team, and the depth is atrocious. One guy that I thought was nice to see come around this week was Mike Evans, but then all of a sudden he
got hurt.
He dicked his groin up, and who
Out
knows
for several weeks. Yeah.
Yes. So I mean, it's like, ugh, there was upside, and now it's upside down.
Hence the question
You're not a
mark.
Brandon Cooks fan?
No.
He was all right in week 1. I mean,
Yeah.
Since then it's kind of been Yeah, I'll say so. No Schkapeel, I guess, Anthony.
No Schkapeel.
Okay, I'll agree on No Schkapeel as well, Hillers. I think this has not been your best managerial season for sure. I'm not sure what happened to you, but
No, you are sure. Everything you said last week, by the way, with the trade was exactly what I was thinking, and I can't bother to defend it. It was a terrible trade. I really pulled the Hillers on that one. I panicked for lack of running back and then did something stupid. But whatever. Maybe Farrow will be good. Forsett goes down, he'd be a nice little option.
So why did you? I guess the question is, why did you panic? Because a lot of the commentary I heard was
because it's my nature.
You feel, for some reason, you get in this frenzy where you feel like you have to make a trade, and a lot of times when you feel like you have to make a trade, that's when you lose the value. That's when you lose the ability to. It's like going to a used car dealership. It's the only one in town, and you have to buy a car. Like, they're just going to stick to you because they know. I mean.
No, I mean, obviously, hindsight. Of course, I didn't. I mean, it was a mistake. The trade itself, it was a mistake. You can't really say, oh, well, it might have been good.
Well, I know that, but like,
even if Bernard Pearson suited
panic,
up,
I guess. What caused the panic? I guess would be the question. Like, why?
I felt like I had one running back that I could actually start.
Okay.
And then the rest were Toby Gerhart might as well be a backup. I mean, I didn't think he'd be amazing, but I had no idea he was going to be as bad as he is. He's almost droppable. On other teams, he would be droppable.
Were you looking at other guys, or had you submitted off?
Yeah, no, I tried to trade with 5-6 teams in the league. I tried to give better offers for that. I could and should have done better for the value that I got there, but
okay.
You were exactly right. People need to step up and trade. If you see people going down and getting hurt on a team, put some trade offers in.
Yeah.
It seems like half the stuff people do on this league is come in and just wait for something to be snarky about and then retreat back into the shadows. Well, put some offers out there. Maybe you'll be the next beneficiary of me doing something stupid or anybody doing something stupid.
It's nice to be the beneficiary of one of Hiller's mistakes. I got to tell you.
Yeah, it's a real hoot.
Yeah.
It gives you a nice warm feeling.
I'm really reaping that 4.3 points worth of benefit.
down.
Yeah, no results would have been different as a result of the trade for at least that first week. So we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, get back to your team. Cooks and Cordell Patterson were real bright spots in week 1, and since then they've kind of been meh.
Yeah.
Your team is Aaron Rodgers and DeMarco Murray. I mean, that's what you got. And Julius Thomas.
And Julius Thomas. Yeah, I got 3 guys.
I don't mind Golden Tate in there either. I think Golden Tate's pretty solid. He's at least a flex guy.
He's a flex. He's fine as a flex, but the number 2 receiver in Detroit is just never going to be someone you really want to rely on, because Stafford only has eyes for Calvin Johnson, like at least when he's healthy. So right now he's not healthy, so maybe that'll work out. But yeah, I don't know. Why did you start Pierce over Gerhart last week?
That I thought that he would be playing.
No,
he suited up. Did he even suit up? I mean, it didn't look like it. He put up a big fucking goose egg. I thought, the 1 week where he was playing and he was starting, it's like I know they had more injuries, like Forsett was hurt, but he had 22 carries and 96 yards and a touchdown, and I said, well, if they go back to him, then he could do it, and it looks like Talaferro is probably the guy rather than Pierce there. So
even Forsett.
Forsett is the best, and then the guy, and then my other guy. Who obviously he's going to have to go because I'm going to need to start at least a running back in week 11.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's just been a disaster of a season, unfortunately, for you Hillers. I'm going to say No Schkapeel. I've been in that seat, where it's like, wow, my season's over and it's week 5. It's like
come find me, everyone, at trade deadline. Deals.
I'm not sure who you have left to deal that people are really going to be interested in.
Well,
but,
hopefully by trade deadline, somebody
yeah.
will be.
Nice home run swing with Andrew Carlos. I see what you were doing there, but didn't really pan out. You know, you wanted the double points for the Packers. So,
I was like, what can I do here? Right.
I noticed that, but all right. So no Schkapeel all around there. Hillers, I guess no Schkapeel from you.
Yeah, no Schkapeel at all. Not even close.
All right, let's do our power rankings, gentlemen. And I don't know how good the predictions are. Do we want to do predictions, or do we just want to do power rankings and check out? We'll probably
Just do the power rankings.
All right. So let's get into that. Hiller, since it's your triumphant return to the podcast, why don't you start us off with 12-7, please?
All right, at 12, me. Because
wow,
I will
worse than the Wayne, huh?
Yeah. At least they're they're not doing it to themselves. If people always want to know, who's your nemesis? For me, the answer is very clear. It's me. I'm my nemesis. I'm the worst thing that could happen to my team all the time.
Hiller's nemesis, maybe.
That's actually was going to be next year's.
Oh, sorry. Sorry to ruin that.
Wait, well, now it's going to have to be something else. Thanks for the spoilers, Merrill.
All right.
Winier at 11, because, Moxie counts for something. PBJ time at 10, maybe he deserves a little bit better than that, but he's moving up. He had been 12 the last time I'd come around, and he's clawing his way, up from 12. It takes a little while. At 9, we have the Assassins. At 8, Los Chupanibres. Wow. And at 7, Iron Pirate Redux.
Okay. I'll go, Anthony, if you want to anchor here.
Sure.
At 12, I've got the Winier. At 11, I've got PBJ. And at 10, I've got Hillers, just because it's, Aaron Rodgers, I guess. I don't know. DeMarco Murray, he's good.
But fun fact,
9,
Hillers has been a number 10 for you each week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That is a fun fact. It's very fun for me. At 9, I've got the Assassins. At 8, I've got Touchdown Jesus. Just right now because they're a little banged up, and I think they're a better team than that. But right now they're just hurting a little bit. And at 7, I've got the Sex Cannons.
Wow.
They deserve a bit of a drop.
Yeah.
I am going with the Winier. What? The Winier at Masters of Elegance at 12. I'm really sorry to do that, but I just don't know how I can't.
Yeah, no, I feel bad doing it too.
Assassins at 11. 10 at PBJ time. 9, I got the Hillers. 8, I got Tom Brady and the Butt Stinkers. That's Nick's team. And then
thanks for elaborating.
Thought it was me for a second.
And then at 7, I got TDJ.
All right, Hillers, bring us home.
All right, at 6, I have the Duplex. At 5, Sex Cannons. At 4, I have Touchdown Jesus. Much as I hate to say that. At 3, I have the Dingo. The Dingo Dad Dicks. At 2, I have the Black Widows, and at 1, EBS.
All right, I have the Dad Dicks at 6. I have Iron Pirate at 5. I've got the Duplex at 3, Black Widows at 2, and EBS at 1.
So you had Choops at 4. You cut out there for a little bit.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. Choops at 4, Duplex 3, Black Widows 2, EBS 1.
You guys give me too much credit. All right, so at 6...
Probably.
6, I got the Choops. 5, I got EBS. 5 is EBS. 4 is the Cannons. 3 is the Widows. Dos, the Dukes moving up strong, and then numero uno is Dad Dicks.
Who'd you have it to?
The Duplex.
Okay.
Because of Andrew Luck factor.
He's really good. Yes.
Yeah.
He's terrifying, actually. I have to play him this week. It's terrifying. That's a big game, though, man. I could go up 2 games if I win that. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it, gentlemen. Right around an hour. Not bad. We're trimming this thing down. We're making it snappy.
Snappier.
Snappier. So.
Right.
Here we go. So for Anthony, for Hiller's upside, and for me, this is us signing off, and we'll talk to you guys later.